You will never be broke if you know what to say.
Yeah.
And one good sales presentation can erase all the horrible financial decisions you've ever made. Yeah. I always use a very simple analogy. I say if you're walking down the street and you see two lemonade stands, and the lemonade stand on the left says freshly squeezed lemonade, and the lemonade stand on the right says yellow water with sugar, which do you buy?
Yeah.
You buy the one on the left.
Yeah.
But it's the same freaking product.
Yeah.
So why do you buy the one on the left? Because it sounds better. Marketing is showing people that you understand their problem better than they do. And sales is simply getting someone comfortable with a decision they already want to make.
You can really be an amazing marketer and have products and services that aren't that great, and you're going to probably outsell the company that has the best product or service, but their marketing is lousy. The reason why they do not buy comes down to the core at the end of the day, after all the BS stories, to a fear of change.
The biggest mistake you can make in business is...
All right, Jeremy Miner, welcome to another episode. Now, look, you're a salesperson who wants to persuade, who wants to sell more. You got to be able to know how to give a really good presentation and how to frame that, how to frame your quote-unquote pitch. So this next guest I brought on here is going to help you learn how to do that. This gentleman is a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, and he's a digital marketing expert known as for his results-driven and straightforward approach. He founded a company called GetClients.com in 2017, well done, that helps entrepreneurs, salespeople, coaches create predictable revenue in sales through online marketing. I know that's what you want to learn, more than likely if you're in sales as well. He's a big guy in high-ticket space, and he emphasizes quality over quantity to attract committed customers. His expertise in sales funnel optimization, we're going to talk about funnels, enables businesses like yours with whatever you sell to get to the next level. We got Dan Henry. Dan, how are you?
What's up, man? I'm good.
All the way from Dubai. The cool guy, as I said, he's coming up for the elevator. So, hey, I've got some stuff here. I want to go through your story here because you're known as this like big, internet marketer and how to craft presentations and frame your pitch and those type of things. Were you born with those skills, or is that something you had to kind of like acquire?
Funny story. Do you remember Billy Mays? The OxyClean guy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So when I was young, very young, in my 20s, I was delivering pizza, and I needed to get out of that business because I was delivering pizza for 7 years.
For who?
Domino's and Pizza Hut.
Domino's and pizza. Which one's better?
It's all crap.
It's not
It's all
that good
garbage.
for you.
You know what's better?
What?
Abs.
Abs are better.
Abs are better.
Abs are better.
Yes.
So you're delivering pizza.
Yeah, and so I had a few girlfriends leave me, and at the
They
beginning
just didn't like the pizza.
They just thought I wasn't going
lifestyle.
anywhere, And at the first one, I was like, they suck. They don't know what they're talking about. After the third one, I was like, okay, I probably should do something.
Yeah.
So I answered an ad in Craigslist, and it was for a sales job. Okay. So they fly me up to Trenton, New Jersey. It ended up being the company where Billy Mays got his start. Because what those guys do is they go to like Sam's Club and department stores, and they do these presentations. And the guys that are really good, then they put them on TV.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
So I get the job, and the sales manager that I had was the same sales manager that trained Billy Mays.
Okay.
Okay, and I don't know nothing about sales. I don't know nothing about
You're
nothing.
You're a newbie. You're delivering pizzas.
Yeah, I don't know. And I look like I'm 12. And my hair's all messed up. I got no style. Yeah. Just total wreck of a human, right? Yeah. So they teach me this script. And we go 5:30 a.m. to a Sam's Club. We set up the booth, and we were selling pots and pans. And there's this incredibly overpriced set of cookware. Right. Where everything else in the store is $60. This is like $500 for cookware. Yeah. And it was a cooking show. Okay. So my manager, he gets on the intercom and he's like, psh, attention Sam's Club shoppers, come to aisle 5 in 5 minutes. We have a cooking show. Come on down. Yeah, right. So all these people start showing up, and it was my turn to do the presentation. So I get nervous, and I say, dude, I can't do this. These people are old. Yeah. Like, they're not gonna listen to me. Yeah. I'm like 20-something. Like, what? And my manager, he gets in my face. I thought he was gonna give me a Kevin Costner speech, right? Motivational. No, he's like, listen, you little shit. And he holds up the paper. Yeah. And he said, we spent millions of dollars crafting the words on this page. We've been doing this for a decade. We've made hundreds and hundreds of millions with these words. You think you're that damn special that if you say this, it won't work for you. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, damn. Yeah. So I get up there and I do it. Yeah. I say exactly what they told me to say. And I made like 15 sales.
Wow.
I made like,
okay.
and I got like $100 a sale. I made $1,500 in commissions that day.
Yeah.
I made like $500 a week delivering pizza.
Yeah, yeah.
$1,500 in commission.
From like what, a 30-minute presentation?
Yeah, not even.
You're like, what?
It's like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that day I realized something. You will never be broke if you know what to say.
Yeah.
And one good sales presentation can erase all the horrible financial decisions you've ever made.
Yeah.
Whether it's for you, whether it's for your company, doesn't matter. Because like if you really think about it, like, you know, life coaches, right?
Yeah,
Most life coaches are broke.
Yeah.
But there's a billionaire life
Right.
coach.
Yeah.
Which is
Tony
Robbins.
Robbins. Yeah, exactly.
But how does he sell life coaching? With a presentation.
How he frames the presentation, right? It's one thing, everybody has an offer,
Yeah.
right? And the thing with, you know, what I find is that everybody's like, oh, it's the offer, it's the solution, it's the product. And they think that if they just, you know, the thing they have now, the reason why they're not really successful at selling it is because it's missing this thing or that thing. And then they go to this industry thinking it's just going to be this new thing that's going to get them success. And then the same thing happens there where they can't sell that. It's because in a prospect's mind, all those offers, all those solutions, they really kind of look the same because they're not on the inside, right?
Right.
So it's how you frame
How
the
you make it
presentation,
sound.
how you make the offer sound,
How you make it
frame
sound.
it.
Yeah.
How you position it. Yeah.
I always use a very simple analogy. I say if you're walking down the street and you see two lemonade stands, and the lemonade stand on the left says freshly squeezed lemonade, and the lemonade stand on the right says yellow water with sugar, which do you buy?
Yeah.
You buy the one on the left.
Yeah.
But it's the same freaking product.
Yeah.
So why do you buy the one on the left? Because it sounds better.
Yeah.
People don't buy good products.
Yeah.
They buy good sounding products.
Exactly. No, that's so true because it's the same question I was just asking Myron on the show. Is it, you know, it's like everybody wonders this. Like salespeople working in the same company, selling the same thing, same price points, same solution, same script, talking to the same type of prospects, get completely different results because it's all how they frame it. It's all how they position it.
And there's only three markets. We all sell the same shit. You either health, wealth, and relationships, right? You're either selling how to make money, how to bump uglies, or how to look good while you bump uglies. That's it. Okay, that's it. I mean, if you really boil it down, you're either saving money or making money.
Yeah.
I save you taxes. It's still money, right?
Make money. Selling solar, you're locking in their rate, protecting them against the rate
that's
hikes,
money.
lowering their bill, right? You're saving them money, right?
Yeah, health, wealth, and relationships.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's like, it's what you say. It's how you describe what you do. It's your way you communicate the value that makes the difference. Because at the end of the day, nobody's coming up with anything truly new. I mean, every once in a while, Steve Jobs comes along. But what did he do every year to sell Apple?
Yeah, well, it's how he framed it, right?
He did a presentation.
It's not like he was the only idea that it's not like he was the only person that came with the concept of that type of phone or whatever. He just knew how to communicate.
He knew how to communicate.
Same with anybody that you admire. Elon Musk, Jeffrey Bezos, same thing. It's like everybody had those ideas. They just didn't know how to communicate it like they did.
No.
And that's the difference. That's why communication skills, number one skill, you have to master.
It's the number one skill.
If you want to be anything in your life, 100%. So I've been watching some of your reels on IG. And lately I've noticed that you are breaking down pitches or presentations. Tell us how where did you get that idea? I actually like the reaction reels where you're breaking down pitches and stuff. I actually really
I actually saw Edward Collins.
Edward Verified?
Yeah, Edward Verified.
The tech stuff.
He breaks down the tax strategies and tells you if they're legit or not, right? So I thought, well, what if I break down social media content, sales videos, and pitches from all these businesses that were doing well and show you why they're saying what they, because when I've been doing this for so long that I don't hear it anymore. Like if I don't hear what they're saying, I hear what they're doing. And so when I break it down, people are like, "Oh, I didn't realize that."
They don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what
listening, but they don't understand what's going on behind it. Behind the scenes.
Yeah. And I'm gonna start breaking down shitty ones too.
You should.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So what would you say are the top 3 that you've broken down, and then why those top 3? What did they do that stood out compared to everybody else's? Because everybody's pitching, everybody's giving presentations, but there's a difference between the ones that are in the top 1% or higher compared to the 99%.
So the most popular one I did was the Tony Robbins stuff, and the reason for that is he's the best.
And was he like at Date with Destiny? Like what was he? Where was he at? What was going on? What was
That's
the
the thing.
context?
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Right. So Jim Rohn, his mentor, said, if you have something good to say, say it often and you'll be successful. So it doesn't matter if he's on YouTube. It doesn't matter if he's at Date with Destiny. It doesn't matter if he's on. He's always saying the same thing. If you can just come up with 10 core principles for your brand, you can say those same things. You can use analogies and stories to illustrate those same principles 10, 15, 20 different ways. Times that by 10. You have hundreds of things to say, but it's all essentially the same thing.
Yeah, Tony's just mastered patterns, right?
Patterns.
It's just all it was, just patterns. It could be pattern interrupts to, he talks, I went with, me and my girlfriend, Kayla, we went to Date with Destiny about 2 months ago.
Okay.
Because she wanted to go there relationship day. I obviously wanted to go relationship day for sure. I also wanted to go to see all the deframing and reframing
of course you did.
techniques. I'm sitting there like taking this home and saying, oh, that's a really good reframe.
That's what I would be doing.
There, So I love that. So he talks about there's 3 types of people, and this is all he's doing is he's putting them into an identity that they want to move away from to the identity they want.
Yep,
so he talks about
selling.
the stressors, those who do this, and then there's the dabblers, and they do this, and then those are the ones that are committed to mastery, right? Then there's the ones who are committed to mastery. Here's what it means to be committed to mastery. Who wants to be committed to mastery? Me. And then at the end they sell business mastery. So what he was doing is he's taking all of the people that were dabblers and stressors, and that's their identity that he got them into, and then he helped them feel that pain of being in that identity, and then they wanted to move away into the new identity, committed to mastery. Which here's the thing. Like I always ask everybody, like, is selling something that you do to people, or is selling something you do for people? There's a big difference in that.
My view is marketing is showing people that you understand their problem better than they do. And sales is simply getting someone comfortable with a decision they already want to make.
Yeah, it's not like if they respond to your ad, they don't already understand that something is missing or something is wrong, or they have something. They just don't understand it like you do, the expert, right?
Right.
So the way you position yourself and what you're selling in marketing is causing them to view you as kind of, higher status, right? You're the authority, like you know how to solve their problems, right? But the thing that Tony does that's brilliant, because some people are like, oh, he's manipulating people. I'm like, well, not really, not at all, because what are the 2 biggest emotional drivers that causes a human being to want to change? Pain and the fear of future pain. So if you can't help them relive their pain of their past history, the present moment, and then have that fear that that's going to keep happening or could happen, then they don't feel any need to change.
Exactly.
When they need to change, they don't buy. When they don't buy, their problems stay the same.
Exactly.
So it's like you're doing it for them, because if he doesn't take them out of their belief systems and reframe them into a belief system that this is possible for you, you can master your life or whatever, then he's not really helping them, and he understands that. One of the best.
I don't think it's manipulation. Unless you lie.
Not at all, no. I mean,
Because the thing is, I always call this the 2 costs, right? Yeah. Most people, when they sell stuff, they worry about what the product costs. They don't worry about what it costs the customer if they don't buy the product.
Right.
Okay? And I always say this. I say, listen, is there anybody in your life that you have not spoken to in a long time and you care about this person? Maybe it's a friend or a family member, but you haven't spoken to them in a while because you had an argument. Yeah. Now, and everybody always raises their hand. They say, oh, I got one. Yeah. I said, now listen, if you got up every morning and as you were getting dressed, you looked into the mirror and you imagined that you were getting dressed for that person's funeral every morning, do you think relatively quickly you'd end up picking up the phone? And they say, well, of course. I say, well, why don't you do that? Because it feels bad. Yeah. Human beings don't like to do things that feel bad. They don't like to think about things that feel bad. Yeah. So that's why you don't do that. And when you're considering buying a product, you're not thinking of the bad thing that will happen if you don't buy that product, because humans don't like to think about bad things. So as a marketer, as a salesperson, your job is simply to get them to think of the consequences of not taking action more than what your product costs.
Yeah, it's taking them out of that frame or belief system of the price or cost, and focus on what you just said, the consequences of inaction, and also the end result that they really want. And that's taking them out of price or cost-based thinking into results-based thinking. And once you master that, selling becomes really, really simple and easy, because that's all it is. This is really good. So let's talk about some of these breakdowns. So Tony Robbins, great one. What's another one that you broke down there? Like, man, this is really good.
Tony was good. Marie Forleo.
I don't know. What do they do?
Marie, so she sells this thing called B School.
Okay.
She's been around for like a long time.
Okay.
They've done millions of dollars, and it's like a general business training for female entrepreneurs.
Okay, like helping them scale their businesses or something, or grow their companies.
I mean, if you
don't even know.
I think it's just basic digital marketing.
Okay. And what did she do? What did she do that was so unique or different that would have helped her audience, like overcome their limiting beliefs or whatever?
Well, she's just very good. Like Tony, she's very good at framing, setting up the problem, calling out the problem properly, identifying with the audience, even little things that she does where, me and my husband, we have this thing happen, relatable situation, because if somebody can't relate to you, they don't want to buy from you. Yeah. So sometimes you have to sprinkle in just these like little relatable
stories.
Even if it's just a quick thing, like something as simple as, me and my husband were at the grocery store every day. Just that one sentence, right? Because who has never been to the grocery store with their husband? And just that one little thing, if you pepper it in, actually matters. Yeah. Because if somebody puts you on a pedestal, the higher and higher and higher that pedestal grows, the further it is for them to reach. And the further it is for them to reach, the less they think that you can help them, because you must not know what it's like to be all the way down here. Right. Yeah. So you have to say things that reduce the size and the height of that
hero's
pedestal.
Journey, as Russell would say that, or kind of the hero's journey, so they can identify with who you are, right? Because they might view you as like, there's no way I could be like that.
Right. You got to knock yourself down a few pegs.
Down, where they're like, well, wait a minute, he was just like me. He just learned this, or he did that.
I'd learned that the hard way. When I first started, we were printing millions of dollars for our marketing training, and I was like a kid, and I didn't have anything nice. I still was living in the tiny house because I didn't have good credit, so I couldn't buy a good house. I'm such a douche. I had a Lamborghini delivered to a house. The car cost more than the house. My neighbors were like, "What?" Because I wanted something nice, dude. I was poor my whole life. I wanted something nice, and I couldn't buy a nice house. So I'm like, "All right, give me a Lamborghini.
Give me the Lambo. It's twice as much as the house."
But that actually lowered my conversion rate. Lowered it because it was less relatable, and I had to learn that the hard way.
That's so true. Yeah. And I think if you have nice cars or whatever, and you're if you're a marketer or maybe a influencer or whatever, or let's say you're a salesperson. I mean, you could be selling insurance or whatever you sell, and you want to get more organic leads, right, that are following you, and you're doing reels. Let's say you got a nice car. I see a lot of people like stand by their nice car to do all their stuff, but it almost seems like, because I think people went through that era where a lot of that was just fake. But if you're just driving in the car and you don't say anything about the car, people will kind of see stuff in the car that like, oh, he's driving to this, or she's driving to that. But it's your influence goes up when you don't need to say anything about it.
Yeah.
It's like,
or,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You have a kid?
Yeah, I do.
You do? Use the kid.
Use the kid.
Just show the car to the kid. Everybody loves it. You got a dog or a kid, whatever you're doing that people would normally not like, you infuse a dog or a kid, and all of a sudden they love you. He's got the dog in the car. I can relate. Oh, he's showing his kid the thing, and then all of a sudden they love you. It's the wildest thing. It's the wildest thing. I love
that. Okay, so we've got Tony, we've got this lady. What's another one? Really good one.
So I would say you got to go back. You got to go back to the old guys, because they were the. Can I be honest with you?
Thank you for being honest. Yes.
I think people kind of suck now.
Yeah.
I think people are lazy.
Why do you feel that is?
Well, I'll tell you why. Back in the day, guys like Zig Ziglar had to learn. There was more friction for them to learn this stuff. They had to go out and seek it. They had to go find people in events that nobody heard of. Like Dan Kennedy, dude. It's not like you could just see a Dan Kennedy ad, right? Like, these are things that were not as available now.
Social media.
Now you can buy a book from, say, Russell Brunson or something, and it's just so accessible that instead of going and really having to go through the gauntlet to learn it, it's like, oh, let's make it easy for you. Here's a template. Instead of understanding the true nature of it. And so what happens is you have watered down marketers, you have watered down salespeople, you have people that just really don't know how to do it. Like, I see your stuff, and I see how incredibly surgical you are with. Like, there was one reel I need to react to some of yours. We need to get them on the list because I saw one you did and it was just so perfect. Like how you do these, like, you play out a scenario.
Oh, it's this whatever.
Like you play out the scenario. And
sell me this pen. Sell me this apartment.
No, that was the one. It was the sell me the pen one. It was, and I thought it was brilliant. I got to react to that. And so you're very cerebral and surgical, but I mean, how many sales coaches have you seen that it's just so basic?
Well, it's because they don't have experience. They don't have
Right.
wisdom. It's like the salesperson that, is in sales for 1 or 2 years, and then they do good. Let's say they get multiple 6 figures a year, and they're like, I'm going to start my own sales training company. Like,
Yeah,
they just they don't have the wisdom or experience. I was in sales, like hardcore sales, 2 B2B, 2 B2C for 18 straight years, making millions of dollars a year in commissions, straight commissions. So I have a little bit of experience. I have wisdom. So, you can have somebody like buy one of my training programs, let's say an advanced program for a year. They go through it, they triple sales, and then they go off and start their own thing. Well, the problem is you can start copying some of my content, but you don't really understand it because you can never buy wisdom and experience. That is just takes time that you go through, right? If somebody buys your content, they can try to copy it, but they don't have your wisdom and experience that you had to go through to put it all together. So they don't understand it like the person who it came from.
But there's too many of those people.
Oh, they're dime a dozen.
Yeah, they're everywhere now.
Yeah.
They're like cockroaches, just scurrying around.
I know.
And then the worst part is they see the people who are interested in buying these trainings will see those people, then they'll see you or me, and they'll assume that we're like them.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, like I've been doing this for a decade, and
experience and wisdom, like you just can't buy it.
Yeah.
You have to go through it yourself.
Yeah. But that's who the best are, is like Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn's is amazing. You just find any audio from Jim Rohn, motivational audio, Zig Ziglar. You know, one of the best ones.
What?
And I use this in my presentation. I'll just give you the sauce, okay?
Let's do it.
All right.
Write this down.
right
this
here.
This is a writer downer. Write this down.
Okay. This is one of the best closes.
Okay.
All right. So you have a whiteboard, and I say, okay, imagine. This is from Zig Ziglar. I say, imagine that you were going to hire the best employee, right? You wanted the best. What characteristics would you want to see in an amazing employee? Yeah. And people will list out honesty, hard work, their commitment. Yeah. Okay, and they'll list all these things out, right? And then you say, now, if you had an employee that was honest and had commitment and positive thinking, worked hard, would that make a great employee, right? And they go, yes. I said, would that make a great employer? Would you like to work for that person? They say, yes. Would that make a great president? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Would that make a great father? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it would. Would that make... So what you're telling me is these qualities just make you good at anything, right?
Identity.
All right? Yeah. And then I say, or Zig said, okay, now let's go through each one. Are these skills or attitudes? And attitude. Maybe 1 or 2 will be a skill. Yeah. And then I'll say, okay, so what you're telling me is that being successful at anything in life is 95% your attitude. And if you can just learn that one little skill, that one little piece, you can be successful. Yes, you can. Okay, well, here's the deal. If you bring me the right attitude, I will teach you the skill, and we'll blow this thing up for you.
Yeah, so he's framing them into that identity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I heard him do that, and he does it a bit different. He used it, but I modified it for me, and I do that close on my live presentations.
That's good.
And I mean, because they're telling you.
Yeah.
I didn't write a single word on the board.
Yeah. Well, it's getting them to, the most powerful form of persuasion is when you get the other person to persuade themselves.
Exactly.
Because now it's their idea, and their ideas are always true, and it's a gospel. If a salesperson says, you should do this because of this, this, and this, unless they're a lay down,
you're the slimy salesperson.
One ear out the other, because you're biased. You're trying to sell me
You're the
something,
salesperson,
right?
yeah.
Exactly, but that's how society. Here's the thing, like, if I'm doing a keynote or something, or even a virtual event, I'll say, how does society view salespeople in general? High status or lower status? They're always like lower status. So I was like, well, why is that?
You're down there next to lawyers.
Why would you be viewed as lower status? Because if nothing is sold, that means there's no such thing as an economy. I mean, you're responsible for the economy. You should be higher status. If there's no such thing as economy, that means there's no such thing as a society. Everything's sold. Like if there's never was salespeople, there would be a society. So why aren't you higher status? Because it's like when you go to the doctor, and the doctor, examines you, and they're like, okay, Dan, we're going to do this exam now. Go ahead and take off your clothes, put on this gown, and I'll meet you in the next room. You're probably unlikely to say, I don't know. Like, I need to talk with my spouse. I don't know. I'm still looking. I need to do more research on this. I need to think it over. Like, you're not going to do that because you view them at a high status. Yeah. Right. So it's like, why are salespeople viewed as lower status? Because the way most of them communicate, unfortunately, triggers that reaction.
Yeah.
So so you're mastering these presentations. Where did you go from there? How did you get into what you're doing now?
Well, I worked in normal sales jobs for a while.
So you got the sales jobs.
Yeah, I got sales jobs.
You started making money. You're like, hey, there's something to this thing called sales.
Here's what happened. I was doing well with some like basic internet marketing stuff, and then I learned how to get websites ranked on Google, and I made money from that. But then Google changed everything.
SEO and stuff.
Yeah, like SEO. But then Google changed everything, and so I lost all my money. So I had some money left over, and I was like, "Screw the internet. This sucks." That was so much work. So I went and I bought a bar and nightclub.
Okay.
And I remodeled it, and it was like in a horrible spot in town. It was since 1948, it had never been successful, and everybody told me it was a terrible idea. They said 95% of bars fail in the first year in Florida.
Which is true.
But you know what I heard? I heard that means 95% of my competition is not really competition.
So you're just like Tony says, it's like you're reframing it into like, this is a positive thing for me, instead of like, oh, I don't have a chance. You're like, oh, I got a better chance because most go out.
Yeah.
It's good.
And so I knew some marketing. And I thought, well, all these bar owners, they don't know marketing at all. So I thought, okay, let me do some marketing. So here's what I did. I went on Facebook and I said, $20, all you can drink, including top shelf. Come to this new place. So everybody showed up. I grabbed one of these DSLR cameras. I walked around for 7 hours, and I got tons of footage. And I made it because it was packed, right?
Social proof.
Right? So then I just started running ads and doing social media content. And look, I lost my ass that first night.
Right.
But it didn't matter because everybody knew where it was, and now I had footage of it looking busy. So when I started running marketing and advertisements showing the place, it looked busy. Raised the status
in the market's mind. They're like, oh wow, this must be the new place.
It must be the new place.
The new place. I gotta
and
go.
then they came, and then it was the new place.
Yeah.
And like literally, I flipped that bar in 14 months for a $300,000 profit and made money while I owned it.
You see what Dan did? So he just reframed everybody's idea of what this place used to be. It went from the place that nobody's going to, and then he did some social media, social proof, and reframed their way of thinking into like, this is the new place everybody's going to, and literally did that probably within a few weeks.
Oh yeah,
It's amazing.
And even on slow nights, I had this little trick to fill the bar. I'll tell you.
What'd you do?
So if it was slow, I would get on the intercom and I would say, hey, if you want a free Jell-O shot, we call this a Facebook check-in shot. Just check in Aqua Bar and Lounge on your Facebook. Come to the bar, show the bartender, we'll give you a free shot. Now, a bottle of Skull vodka at that time is $6. It can make like 300 Jell-O shots. So it costs you like nothing. Right? And they would come up, they'd show the bartender the check-in, they'd get the shot. Mary, Sue, Tom, whatever, is driving around looking for something to do. Oh, you know, Tom's at Aqua Bar and Lounge. He just checked in. Within 45 minutes, the place is packed.
See? All he's doing is he's taking them out of their frames or belief systems, right, and reframing them into a new belief system that this place is the best place to be.
Because everybody's talking about it all at once that night.
Yeah.
So
all you're doing is raising your status. That is brilliant. Okay, so let's go into some entrepreneur. So how should people look at sales and marketing as an entrepreneur? Because you know, you always this debate: is it marketing? Is it sales? Like
you're gonna hate my answer.
Well, I don't care. It's, you know, everybody has their own views by kind of where they came from, right? So everybody has their own perspective, and a lot of times I always say the truth is in the middle. What's your perspective?
My perspective is this: if you have insanely good marketing, you don't even need salespeople. You don't even need the sales department. But very few people have that good of marketing.
Would you say it depends on what the solution, offer, and price tag might be? Could that be some of it, though?
It could, but but not necessarily, because that Richard Branson cruise was it happened during COVID, so it ended up getting canceled. But it was a brand new cruise line, and it sold out without anybody talking to anybody. It literally sold out, and it was super expensive. It was super exclusive, and literally I was calling trying to get a ticket to it, and they're like, "It's full." Okay. So it does depend. I wouldn't necessarily say on price, but a combination of all the factors. It's like
there's a lot of different factors.
A lot of factors.
Industry to industry, there's some factors.
But look, there's some industries where you have to talk to a salesperson.
Like you're not really going to sell cybersecurity to Bank of America on a webinar.
No. You're not. But look at Gary Vee. Gary Vee makes social content that has nothing to do with it, because he owns VaynerMedia. He gets like Coca-Cola and Red Bull and all these big companies. But what he does is he's not talking to them. Okay? He's showing through his content that he can blow up a brand, and then they reach out to him.
Yeah. And they still probably talk to salespeople though when they reach out to him. But you're saying they're a little bit more warmed up. There's more authority there.
My view is this: your goal in marketing should be to make your salespeople as much of order takers as you possibly can, and not salespeople. Now, obviously, that's not but look, a good sales team will make up for crappy marketing. It's going to be
if you can have the combination of both.
Well, yeah.
Really,
then you're
you even master like cold calling, and you have marketing and stuff, you're even better. There's a lot of different things.
I mean, that's the real answer if you have both that are really great. But when does that
can be, here's the thing, like you can really be an amazing marketer and have products and services that aren't that great, and you're going to probably outsell the company that has the best product or service, but their marketing is lousy.
And that's the unfortunate truth. But if you have a great product, it is an absolute disservice to not know how to explain what you do so that it sounds as good as it truly is. And what's crazy is you'll invest in all this stuff, but you won't invest in simply how to describe what you do.
You're not, now that's not, no, hold on. This is a high level person watching this right now. This is a high level community that we have. It's not them, it's all those people out there.
Well, it's an understood you, okay? Look, if you're watching this right now and you do invest in it, then you're ahead of the pack. You're the 1%. But most people aren't the 1%.
So you're committed to mastery. That's all it is. You're committed, Tony talks about the stressors, the dabblers, the committed master. I take it a step further with salespeople. I'm sure there's really anybody in life. I say there's 4 types of people. The first type of person is I call it, let me get pronounce it, the winger, the one who wings everything. Right?
Oh, yeah.
They wing everything in marketing, right? They're a salesperson that says something different to everybody. They don't really have a process. They don't know if it works or not. One week they're up, the next week they're down. They're just kind of guessing. When they don't make a lot of sales, they blame the leads or the prospects. They're broke or they have fear. And those salespeople typically get fired. Those are the ones who wing things, right? And that's really any profession. Think about anybody in life that's not very good. They wing it. Right?
Well, look, listen. If most people weren't wingers, we'd be broke. So, so please wing it.
The second group, those are the dabblers, right? So, marketing. Maybe they buy a few books on marketing or sales. They go to a couple of free events. They watch some of your free content. The IG reels or YouTube, and then they just hope that if they just stay in long enough, if they learn from their mistakes, that eventually they'll figure it out, right? And those typically, that's where most salespeople, marketers are. They're kind of just average. If they ever get good, it's because they work like crazy hours, they play the numbers game, and eventually they burn out, right? They get some. Those are the dabblers, right? Think about do you watch like sports?
I watch UFC.
Okay, so UFC. Who's your favorite fighter?
Probably right now, Kamzat.
Yeah. Would he be a dabbler? Unlikely, right? He wouldn't be in the ring if he was, right? Yeah. Then the third type of person, this is they're the know-it-allers, right? They think they know everything. So they've invested in their skill level in the past. Maybe they took a marketing course or a sales course, and they got good. They're making 6 figures a year or whatever, and then their ego, like, oh, I know everything there is to know about it. They stop investing, stop training, and their income typically gets capped, and they just don't know why, right? They're just trying to figure it out. And then you have the few, the proud, the great, the 1%, and those are the ones who are committed to mastery because they're always investing in their skill set, right? As a marketer, as a salesperson, what's the number one thing tied to how much you make? Your skill set, like what you're actually doing, how you're framing it, like how you're positioning it, right? Learning how to communicate it.
I think salespeople actually are more likely to invest in their trainings than the actual company owners. Because I deal with more company owners. And because when you own a company, you got all these different boxes that you have stuff in your head. You have all these different things you have to think of. When you're a salesperson, you're like, I need to sell the freaking deal.
Well, you think a business owner probably understand that, hey, your revenue, your profit margin is going to depend on how well you market and how well your salespeople
You
do
would
when
think that.
when they're talking about your solution.
But that's the thing. Everybody wants to make more money, right? Everybody wants to be the 1%. They want to make more money. They want to have a better body. They want to have a better relationship. Everybody wants that.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you cannot become the 1% if you behave and think like the 99%.
Yeah, if you behave like a winger or
Right.
a dabbler or a know-it-aller, you'll never get in the top 1%.
You'll never
It's
get
only
in
the
the
ones who are
1%.
committed to mastery. That's what I always say, like, watch your favorite athlete. Let's say it's Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Tom Brady or whoever, Patrick Mahomes. Were they a winger, a dabbler, a know-it-aller, or committed to mastery? Committed to mastery. Who's your favorite CEO? Let's say you said Elon Musk. Was he a winger, dabbler, know-it-aller, or committed to mastery? See, I could go into every profession in the planet, top police officers, top in the military, top anything, and they're always
You know what you're
committed
doing
to
right now
mastery.
is identity selling.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because you
I can break it
obviously
down.
know. Well, see, that's the I don't do it to them. I do it for them.
Oh, I love that
right?
frame.
It's
I love
true,
that
but it's
frame.
true, right? If you don't learn, like if you're a marketer, right, and let's say you have a marketing course that teaches people how to blow up their brand, you know, you have a moral obligation to sell that to them, because if they don't know how to do that, their problems stay the same, and they never become a master of what they do, right? So they can't do that through trial and error.
The problem is there's
decades.
people out there that are worse at what they do than you, than me, than the people who are good. And so for me, like, I know that there's people out there who are making crazy promises. They're doing things they shouldn't be doing. They're getting sued by the FTC, and they're making money, and they're nowhere near. I'll just say it, I don't think they're anywhere near as good as I am at teaching marketing. So it's my job to continuously figure out how can I explain what I do better, doing it for them, so that they buy my stuff instead of theirs. Because if I let them buy their stuff, I'm doing them a disservice.
You know that they're not going to get the results you could have gotten.
Exactly. And so it's my duty and obligation to, I really don't like this whole thing about, oh, you shouldn't sell, like I don't have anything to sell. You can't have shit to sell.
But that's because they have a mindset that selling is something that you're doing to them, not for them. They don't understand what selling is.
Well, my thing, I always tell people this. I say, listen, if you feel that whatever you do is not going to make a massive transformation in their life that is so much more valuable than whatever it is you're charging, if you think that that will happen, then you either have to look at yourself and say, well, then why do you feel bad about selling? Or you have to go, oh, maybe my product isn't that good. It's one or the other. And you deal with either one of those issues. You fix the product so it is worth it, or you fix your mindset. Because, dude, if I sold you a cure for cancer for $10, I'd be an asshole if I didn't try to sell as many as possible.
Of course, yeah, exactly. Like I said, most society views salespeople as it's something that you're doing to them, like it's a wrong thing, instead of you're doing it for them. So it comes back to, you know, most people have the mindset that it's something you're doing to them instead of for them, right? So like if I'm in an audience and I've got a keynote training or whatever the company brought me in for, I want to interrupt the audience's patterns because I'm doing it for them, not to them. So, you know, sometimes it depends on the audience. It depends on, sometimes I'll do something different when I walk out on stage because I can start reading the audience. And I like to mingle with them a little bit before I even go up on stage.
Oh yeah,
I get a
super
feel
important
of what's kind of going on in their mindset and all that stuff. And there's sometimes, well, you know, I'll walk out and I'll be silent for like 30 seconds and I'll just sit there on stage. And then the whole audience is like, what's going on? And they put down their phone, like, what's going on? I'm interrupting the pattern, right? Because what are they used to most speakers doing? Hey, how's it going? I love the city. Everybody having a good time. Let's go. Yeah, and that's fine. But their brain is used to that pattern. And so what you see a lot of people do in the audience when that happens is they get up and they go to the bathroom, or they start getting on their phone or their computer because their brain recognizes patterns, right? All of our brains do. So I have to interrupt that pattern to get them to engage. And once again, I'm not doing it to them. I'm doing it for them. Because if I can't get them to engage, I can't really help them.
Exactly.
You know?
If they're not paying attention, they're not going to pay.
Yeah.
So.
Well, everybody votes with their dollars. You know, like Tony Robbins says it best. I was watching a podcast with him and PBD the other day, and he talks about, you know, you can be a great speaker and get a standing ovation at the end, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a great communicator, because people vote with their dollars. Right? That tells you if you're great or not.
Funny story about that. Russell hired me to do a repitch. Now, I don't know if this is...
I
can explain what that is.
Repitch, go ahead and explain it.
So let's say you have an event, or maybe it's a webinar or whatever, and you get your people in the room. You're the event owner. You're the guy. You get up on stage. You pitch your stuff.
You make an offer.
You make an offer. You make this much sales.
Yeah, selling your solution, whatever it is,
Then you have a professional platform closer or whoever come in the next day or the next morning and pitch your same stuff again, just say it in a different way. And then you make more sales. So Russell had a conference, super conference, and I was doing the repitch. So he gets up on stage and he pulls multiple six figures out of the room.
And this is selling the ClickFunnels like software?
It was selling them. I don't even remember what he was selling them. It was like a like a business mastermind.
Was this before like ClickFunnels?
No, this was this wasn't even a year ago.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so here's what had happened, right? He had two people in the room. Okay, so he had a bunch of people who were into marketing and funnels, and he had like doctors, lawyers, professionals. Well, his pitch was amazing, but it was very directed towards the marketers. Okay. And so my job was to do a repitch. So I started kind of talking to people, and I figured out that most of the people there on the other side of the room didn't know what a webinar was. So I get up on stage the next day, and I go, man, my back. I'm like, there's a chiropractor in the room? And a bunch of people raise their hands. And I say, you know what's funny? I was at a chiropractic office. I saw an ad, and they said, come in for an adjustment. And I come in, and there was like 15, 20 people there. And all of these people were getting adjustments, and then the chiropractor did a presentation. Have you guys ever done this? Like, have you ever done like a presentation with a bunch of people in a room? Maybe you're a dentist, maybe you're a lawyer, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, you know, when that happened, I thought, this is kind of like a webinar. You know, but it's kind of a crappy webinar because nobody bought. You know, but I thought about it for a second. I thought, look, you're all here because would you consider yourself innovators? And then, we're innovators. You're here. You're at a conference to learn how to grow your business. How many chiropractors, how many doctors actually come here to learn this? And then I said, you know, it's funny. Everybody calls Steve Jobs an innovator, but most people don't know what innovation is. See, innovation is not inventing things. It's when you borrow ideas from other industries that are seemingly unrelated and you apply them to your industry. Like the MagSafe. You remember?
Does everybody understand what he's doing here? How he's aligning like a group that has no familiarity with marketing or funnels, and now he's aligning like the lingo they speak, and with this analogy, and now they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
And they were older. So I said, guys, remember when we had laptop cords and you would trip over them? It was like annoying. You'd rip the circuit board on your laptop, and then you have to wait for the laptop for 2 weeks. And then they came up with those magnetic ones. And it was so much better. Well, you know how Steve Jobs came up with that? He found that in Japan, the rice cookers had magnetic power cords so that when you tripped over them, it didn't spill boiling water all over you. And he thought, wait a minute. People trip over their laptops. I'll make a magnetic laptop power cord. See, Steve Jobs borrowed an idea from an unrelated industry and applied it, and that's why he is an industry leader. And I imagine you are all here because you want to be industry leaders.
So you put him in that frame.
Right. And right now, you're at a conference where you are learning from one of the best in the world at webinars. You might not know it by that name, but you are doing it. You're just not doing it at a high level. And you now have an opportunity to borrow, to innovate
your industry.
Your industry practice. By borrowing this and applying it to yours. And how many doctors, lawyers do you think are doing? None. That's why you're an innovator.
And that's why you have the competitive advantage.
I said that. Nearly doubled sales for the whole conference.
That's amazing. There's so much to break down in there.
There's a lot
of different.
There's a lot going on.
We could take probably 2 hours to break down the last 5 minutes of everything you just did there. So I think it's important for everybody to understand that whatever you're doing, you know, most of you are watching us or listening to us are in sales, or you're in coaching, or you know, you're an entrepreneur that wants to get your employees to follow your vision, or maybe you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company listening to this, and you want to scale the business even bigger than what you have now, more profit margin. It all comes down to one thing: how you communicate your idea, how you sell it, how you communicate, and how you frame everything that you just did there. Because typically, whether you're speaking to one-on-one with a consumer, or let's say you're on a virtual Zoom meeting with 10 decision makers, if you sell B2B or something, or you're selling from stage, typically, not all audiences, but any audience, about 80% are going to have more of an inferior mindset.
Yeah.
Okay? They don't believe they can do the thing that you're saying that you can do. Okay? So if you're talking about, let's say if you're selling a marketing course, they might think you were the best marketer on the planet, Dan, but they have this inferior complex where they're like, well, Dan's good, but I'm not Dan. I can't do that. So what Dan has to do is he has to help them come out of that belief system. I was a psychologist, so this is all this framing stuff. So a lot of people I went to school to be a psychologist.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like you learn from
that definitely helps with sales.
Yeah. Well, that's what I took in. I'm like, why is everybody selling this?
My original major was psychology.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Yeah, and then I switched it to audio engineering. Didn't use that.
Oh,
but.
yeah. Now you get back to the psychology. Yeah, because when I got into sales, I'm like, why are you guys doing all this like hardcore techniques like that? You're just triggering resistance in their brain. Like, you just understand that? I was like, well,
oh, that's dope that you were like, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it's like you're taking them, like if you have a patient that wants to commit suicide, that is their belief system.
Do you talk about this in your marketing?
A little bit, yeah.
A little?
A little bit, yeah.
This should, what do you mean?
It's more of our advanced training programs. We talk a little bit about
But this should be a part of your brand. This should be this is your unfair advantage.
We do. I mean, it comes from behavioral science. We talk about it.
I would just, I don't know. For me, I would lean more into it because that's amazing. I hear you, it's like that's an amazing story.
It's like a patient. So every human being has a worldview, right? Typically from your childhood, by the ages of 4 to 13, like Milton Erickson talks about, okay? So your belief system, the way you see the world, most of it has to do with that age. So who raised you, what religion you belong to, your cousins you hung out with, who you follow on TikTok now influences your way of thinking, right? So every consumer, everybody on the planet has a way of thinking that's called a frame. NLP calls it a frame. Well, where did NLP get that from? Well, they got it from like Sigmund Freud and Milton Erickson and psychology. And
so you were very into like environmentalist type of thinking, like that your behaviors and your mindset are strictly defined by your environment as you grow up. You're a big believer in that.
I'm a believer in that, but you can shift that. You can shift that. You can change that. You can change it on the dime, actually. Some therapists will be like, oh, it takes years. I'm like, well, you just don't know how to do it. You haven't learned how to take them out of that frame within a couple minutes. It doesn't necessarily take 10 years. You just haven't. The better question would be like, hey, I don't know how to get people to change quickly. Can you teach me how to do it? So you have a patient, prospect, doesn't really matter. If you're a prospect, what would be a viewpoint or a worldview that most prospects think? So when a salesperson first starts talking to you, what's the first thing you start thinking in your mind? How much is this going to cost? Why? Why does your brain go there? You thought about that?
Well, see, if you think about it.
Yeah. Anytime somebody sees one of your ads, they also think that. Why, though?
Here's why. Our minds have default programming, right? When you touch a hot stove, whoop, you don't even need to think about it. You immediately go back. You get near a ledge, you feel nervous. Your body starts giving you sensations that say, bro, get away from the ledge. Yeah. You have no control over it, right?
It's your survival part of your brain.
Right. So think about it this way. Your mind is automatically programmed to keep you
alive,
safe, right? Yeah. Now, in order to get reward, what must you do? You must risk. There is no reward without risk. You can't make money in the stock market without risking money.
Change.
Yeah. So if in order to be successful, if in order to get reward, you must risk, and risk is the opposite of safety, then by default, your mind is opposed to success because it is opposed to the thing.
Your mind is opposed to change, because success is change. Because
Right.
you're not successful, so you're changing.
Right.
The core of any human being, the reason why they give you any objection, the reason why they do not buy, comes down to the core at the end of the day, after all the BS stories, to a fear of change.
Sure.
Because you can't see what's on the other side of the mountain without paying first.
Yes.
Then you get to see.
I always think about it like logically. You say, this will help me. This logically, all of this will work.
Yeah.
But how many times do you get on a sales call, probably not you, but most people, and they're like, yeah, this all makes sense. But then at the very last minute, when it's time to pay, all of a sudden there's a problem.
Yeah, fear of change.
It's because we start feeling these physiological things that our mind is like, wait a minute, I don't care about the logic.
Yeah.
You're about to spend money. Yeah. That is unsafe. You need to be safe.
Yeah, it's because you've been constantly sold to all the time through marketing,
exactly.
social media. You get up in the morning, after you go to the bathroom, first thing you do, look at social media, you see ads trying to sell you something, turn on the TV, ads trying to say something, turn on the radio, go to work, ads trying to say, go walk, drive down the road,
it creates a frame.
Yeah, so your frame is like, oh, sales is bad. I'm always getting sold. So anytime you feel somebody's trying to sell you something, your guard goes up. It's spidey senses, what I call it. Yeah.
But the thing is that, again, we go back to 1% and 99%. You see, you wouldn't take your car to a car mechanic who doesn't know how the engine works, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to be successful, if you want to be a successful salesperson or an entrepreneur, what's the number one tool that you use? Your mind. So it's important to know how your mind works.
Yeah.
And
know how the mind of the person you're communicating works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
When you're talking to a prospect, you got to understand that, look, they are just getting nervous because it made sense. Everything you said made sense.
Yeah.
But they're now nervous because that's what their brain's going to do because they're human. So what you have to do is get them comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not just about. It's sort of like if you go to. Let's say you get your wife or girlfriend pregnant.
Yeah.
You go to 2 doctors. The first doctor, amazing credentials, great pricing, awards, like all this. And then you go to the next doctor, not as much as experience, overpriced, not as great of reviews. Like, which doctor would you say to go with?
You're going to go with the one that you feel like understands you the most.
Right, but you as a man, which one do you immediately
Man's
think?
probably going to go because the doctor probably couldn't bring out that emotion in me to the one that's that you feel has the best credentials.
The best credentials, right.
Yeah.
But you get in the car with your wife, and your wife all of a sudden goes, Doctor number 2, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just felt comfortable with him.
She felt like he understood her.
So now you go with that doctor. And that's the truth is, it's not just about convincing. It's not about persuading. It's not about making it make sense. It's also about comfort, making them comfortable with actually handing you the money because no matter what you do, that brain, that primal brain is going to kick in and go, wait a minute, danger, Will Robinson.
Exactly.
So you're going to feel heat and you're going to feel nervous. You got to help them become comfortable with that.
100%. It's, Tony Robbins actually talks a lot about that, and I like to take it a step further. And I would say the number one way to influence another human being, remember, I'm not doing it to them, I'm doing it for them. So the number way to influence a human being is to get them to feel like you understand them the most. I'm talking about you understand their needs, their desires, their wants, even their fears, where they feel like you understand them the most without buying into their story. Because they've already done that. They have limiting beliefs. So if you buy into like, oh, I need a week to think about it, you're just buying into their story, right? Their fear, right? If you buy into like, now's not a good time, let's talk next quarter. You're just buying into their story if you let them off the hook. But you got to get them to feel, you have to have that emotional connection, right? Like you talk about. Now, how do you get a human being to have the emotional connection? Most of that is really how you use your tonality and actually your body language, even if they can't see it, because that affects your tone. It's not even necessarily the words you say.
Correct.
It's how you say those words, how you position the words. This is a good conversation. A couple more questions. I know we've got to go to this event. What would you say a beginner entrepreneur, give us maybe one thing that had really, besides marketing, besides sales, what's one thing that really helped you get ahead of the ball game with your competitors, besides marketing and sales?
Realizing that the biggest mistake you can make in business is trying to sell your passion. Because it's your passion.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's the market's
Nobody
passion.
cares.
Nobody gives a shit
Yeah.
about you and your goals and your dreams and what happened to you when you were a kid. Nobody cares. They care about them.
Yeah.
Now you can maybe use that.
Yeah.
Maybe some of it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you want to become rich, find something people are already buying and explain it better than the competitors.
So true.
That's it.
Yeah.
Literally, that's all you have to do. Hey, they're already buying this thing. How can I make it sound simpler, more entertaining, and clearer than the next guy?
Well,
and
true.
you win.
And what Dan means here as well, because I know some people are like, well, if I just learn how the product works better, and I explain the features and benefits, I'll sell better. That's not what he's saying, because that will just make you worse. Especially, you know, there's you know, we train a lot of companies that sell the company, like B2B space, right? And I love them. They get on there, because I sold an enterprise B2B as well, in one of the industries I sold in my career. And they use these big words, you know, like consultative words, and they talk about like just high-end words. I'm like, does your prospect even know what that means?
Right.
You know, like solar salespeople, like, oh, how much are you paying per kilowatt? I was like, well, how do you know the homeowner knows what a kilowatt is?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what a kilowatt is.
Like, do I work at your company? Like, I don't give a shit.
Exactly. Like they use this big words, thinking that if they use these big words, no, you got to simplify it, right? You got to.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your utility bill. Like, I know a lot of the year it's pretty low, but why have they been making you pay lately?
Yeah. Can I give you a really great example of
go
this? And you're such a sales guy. I'm such a marketer. So this is like such a marketing version of it. I know.
Marketing, communication, sales.
I forget the year, but there was 2 software companies that were launched in the same year, and they both had the same exact product.
Yeah.
It's just a budgeting app. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, one company, they only got 100 customers their first year, and they said, we'll help you budget better.
Yeah.
The next company did 100 million their first year.
Yeah.
And you know what they said?
What?
We will show you how much money your bank is secretly ripping off from you.
Oh, that triggers fear, pain. Right? Pain.
That was mint.com.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's so brilliant.
Now think about it.
Yeah.
Dude, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
You just said it better.
That's how they positioned it. It's just how they
That's
positioned
it.
Because what they did, that's brilliant. What Mint did is they seeded doubt in your mind that, am I getting ripped off by my
Exactly.
bank? Or if you felt like you have, then it just draws out pain where you're like, yes, that's true. I've had that happen. And now you're drawn to that. But if it's just a budget app, you're like, it doesn't, there's nothing, it doesn't seed any doubt in your brain.
Sell what everyone else is selling and people are already buying, and just say it better.
Yeah.
If you could just do that, you're rich. You're a millionaire. Done.
It's all committing to mastering the skills. Dan, it's been a great show. Where can people find out more about what you do?
So we do an event quite often. You can go to epicpitch.com and check that out. And it's all about sales presentations.
It's all about presentations. So if you want to get better at your presentations, go to epicpitch.com.
Epicpitch.com.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Yep.
And get some of his materials. There's a reason why he is known as one of the best marketers on the planet, not just Dubai. Hey, I love Dubai.
I don't even sell in Dubai. I just live in Dubai.
Well, you sell everywhere, man.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
everybody. And if you have any questions, text me, 480-637-2944. Dan, it's been a pleasure. We'll have to do this again, my man.
Thank you, man.
Next time I'm in Dubai.
Come.
Maybe I'll come over their show. I think I have a keynote sometime this year, April.
Yeah, come.
Okay.
Yeah,
come
we'll hang
over.
out, for sure.
Okay, good.